Hello, good morning. I hope that you're all well. It's been quite a while since my last Flosstube. In the last one, I mentioned that I was going to be missing in action for 2 weekends, but in the weekend in between that, I had fully intended to do a Flosstube, but we had unexpected visitors. Now, this Flosstube might be a little bit longer than normal because I have so much to show you. I'm going to run through all the projects, all the goodies that the attendees of Mrs. Parkman's Academy of Needlework Swindon 2025 received, and I'm also going to talk about Swindon 2027. But before I do that, I have to show you 2 things. The first one is my framed finish of a manual by Shelley of Antique Needleworks. When I went to the Nashville Needlework Market this year, when I walked into Shelley's room, my eyes went to this little sampler and it just got me there. And in the room, it was there and it was just glowing. It was glowing like a bright star. And I thought, I want to stitch that. I want to have this to go with my Christmas needlework display. So I picked it up from the framers this week and I'm very much looking forward. Oh, Bertie, what did you do? That was Bertie squeezing through something. This is, I've forgotten where I was now. But anyway, I picked this up this week from the framers and I am absolutely delighted. It took a little while to be framed because this mat board had to be specially ordered to be the exact same colour as the red that I stitched the sampler in. Really thrilled with that. Go along and have a look at Shelley's site, Antique Needleworks, and you can source the pattern too. It doesn't take very long to stitch. The other little bit of housekeeping I want to talk about is the calendar. I shipped all the calendars except for Canada before I left for Swindon, and I think that the vast majority of people have received their calendars. And the feedback I'm getting about the bonus blessing sampler that was a PDF download has been amazing. Everybody's thrilled with that bonus sampler. For people who live in Canada, the postal strike has now been lifted. So the first job I did on Tuesday was to ship your calendars. So hopefully they won't be long either. Now the bonus sampler, because the calendar has been released, I'm going to show you what the bonus sampler was. It was a blessing sampler and it's AWE. This is such a pretty sampler. There we go. So for people who purchase the calendar, this is what you receive. Now the calendars were pre-order and there was only ever going to be 1 print run. I have 10 spare calendars. I always order a few extra. So if you're interested, they are on my website now, but when those are gone, they are gone for 2026. We will have another calendar in 2027 because these are so popular. Okay, so let's talk about Swindon 2025. Paul, one of the husbands of the attendee, was our official event photographer and he spent the whole weekend capturing everything through photographs. Now, towards the end of next week, I should have the files of photographs from Paul and I will put together a reel. So this video is showing you physical things, but there will be a complete photographic record of the whole weekend. The weekend started for most people with a visit to Whitney Antiques to see the latest exhibition, and they were seeing it before anybody else. So it was a wonderful opportunity to go there and view the samplers, talk to Becky on a one-to-one basis. I'm so envious. Because of being one of the hosts, I couldn't go, but I know that people really enjoyed their time there. The Thursday of the event was a sales day and a classroom day. The event room was a sales room, and it opened at 9 o'clock in the morning and it closed at 10 o'clock at night. And we had the most amazing display of linen. I have never seen so much linen in one place ever. And we had a silk extravaganza. I had lots of different products in the boutique, some 2 new releases which you'll be having in the next week or so on the Hats website, and there was lots of samplers that have not been officially released. They might have been workshop projects from years past. Sue had an amazing display of fripperies. Again, I've never seen so many fripperies in one place. And Sue also has other different products that she doesn't normally sell. It was lovely. We had other vendors there, and I think people had fun in the boutiques that day. But running that day were complimentary bonus classes. We had 4 instructors, and the classes were all designed to cater for somebody who wanted an advanced project, somebody who wanted a middle of the road project, then for somebody who wanted a project that they could finish and take away with them. And then we had a Papercraft classroom where you could make needlework accessories for your needle case, and the classes ran 9 till 11, 12 till 2, and then 4 to 6 on the Thursday, then 9 to 11 on the Friday, and they were completely free of charge. People could kit up through Stash, or the teachers also made kits available, but you could stitch all the projects from your own stash. The actual workshop, or the official weekend, the doors opened at 3:30 on the Friday, and there was no queuing for registration. Everybody from the Wednesday through the Thursday and the Friday were handed out their lanyards, and they didn't have to queue. Everybody's project was exactly the same. So when they walked into the room, their supplies were already at their place. And that worked very, very well, because when you're queuing to register, that does add to the time it takes for the actual event to get going. So when the attendees walked into the room on the Friday afternoon, they saw a tote bag on the table in front of their place, and the tote bag was a very heavyweight bag, a canvas bag with this was our Specimen one, with a zipped top, and inside the bag there is also a zipped small pocket, and it was printed double-sided. When they lifted their tote bag, which was lying flat, they discovered that they had a limited edition Winterbury travel case. I don't know how the colour is translating on the screen, but this is a lovely deep raspberry, and this colour combination will is only available for event attendees. Hobby House Needleworks are the sponsors of our events in England, and through their generosity we were able to gift one of these travel cases to every attendee. Now, Sue and I thought very long and hard about the colours. We were free to choose the colours that we wanted. So we went for this lovely deep raspberry, and inside there was this beautiful green. Everybody got 36 count linen for the the sort of practical project for the weekend, and there was absolutely oodles of spare linen. This was a fat eighth, and you only actually needed a very small bit, but there was a purpose to why we gave the excess linen, which will come out through the conversation. Inside that roll there was a skein of soie d'argent for the first project, and everybody received this little vintage spool with Londonderry thread on, which was needed as well for finishing the first project. They received a pack of needles, which is exclusive to attendees of my workshop. And inside here, I'm not going to open it because all the needles are going, well, actually I could do that. There's all these little girls, which was the theme of several of the products that were available for the weekend. Inside here, everybody had a raffle ticket to win a door prize, but we didn't tell them where the raffle tickets were. They had to search for them in their gifts. Everybody received a floss drop, and every floss drop has a different image on, and not just girls, boys as well, because we had a male attendee. And if any males are watching, I want you at the next event. Cross stitch needlework, it's gender neutral. We need more men at these events. They also received a Winterbury purse, and inside this purse there were wonder clips, capped rivets, or everything that we needed to complete things over the weekend. And then when you lifted the tray, inside there was a tube of hand cream. So that was the main goodie for the weekend, but it wasn't the only one. Sue and I really wanted everybody to have as much as the budget would allow, and after deduction of the delegate rate with the hotel and hiring of everything for the event, everybody received every penny back of their event fee in gifts. Now, also on that table that night, just a second, was a coaster commemorating the event and a mug commemorating the event. I never saw anybody drinking out of these at the event. I think they wanted to keep them really safe to take home. Everybody received a tape measure, a leather tape measure that was branded. And we also had especially made these beautiful ceramic thimbles. When children went to school in the Victorian age, they were given a bag to store their needlework in. It would have been a cloth bag. They were given scissors, needle, and a thimble. So it was very, very important that, oh, that's not in focus, is it? That we included this. Obviously, being ceramic, you can't really use it. It's for display purposes. So that was what was on their table Friday night. We opened the event with a talk from myself, and then we had dinner. The food was exceptionally good at Swindon. 3 courses and, nice quality food, and there was loads of food. And what was really impressive was how quickly the 2 serving stations, everybody flowed through those serving stations. That evening we had a fascinating talk by Becky. It just went like that. Everybody was just completely enthralled with what she was talking about, and she had brought several beautiful frame samplers from Whitney Antiques, and these were passed around the tables. And how often do you get a chance to hold one of these very, very special samplers and to be able to study it in such detail? That was an amazing opportunity. In between talks, the boutiques were open and people were constantly shopping and, you know, socialising. But when people were had taken the floor and were speaking, the boutiques closed. So when everybody left the room on Friday night, Sue and I were very, very busy setting up everything so that when they walked in the next morning, there were more things for them. So when they came in on the Saturday morning, because by then they were students of the academy, everybody received this little quilted box, and inside the box there was their school badge, which says Mrs. Parkman's Academy of Needlework. In England, we're very big on school badges. You have badges for everything. You have house badges, you have prefect badges, monitor badges, even milk monitor badges, and then badges for different sports. So that was a nice little souvenir for them. It was just produced for this event. People were wearing their badges, but ultimately these were designed that you could put them on the lid of your needle case with your needle minders. They also received a tin of sweets, and these were sweets. There were 5 different sweets that were available in the Victorian times, and inside the container there's some interesting information about the history of these particular sweets. Now on the table there were things that could not be opened. So the Victorian classroom, which was the theme of the event, we talked about Victorian times and expectations and education, and then the actual project for the weekend was taught by Maud Newman, who was a pupil at Haberdasher School, London, in the 1800s. Victorian girls were taught under the monitorial system. When a teacher was teaching a classroom of what could be over 100 children, she couldn't go around and teach individual children. So she picked the ablest pupils and they were taught by her, and then they taught other pupils. So everybody at the table had to appoint a monitor, and they were sort of like the captain, the leader of the table. And we used Maud's own needlework specimen book. Everybody received this specimen book, which is a very high quality production. This book is really beautiful. It's printed on heavy cardstock, and it's a true facsimile of Maud's own needlework book. It's just, we were so pleased, and when you open it, until you touch it, you think that it is the actual book. So this was the project that everybody worked on, and the stitches that they learned in this sampler, they could put into practice at the end of the day when they actually received the event project. Now I can't show the original, it's still packed up in the event box stuff. Sue's away for 2 weeks, so we're not unpacking until she comes back because we've got to do a stock take. But this was the actual project that they received, and the stitches they learned in this little sampler helped them with the stitches in this sampler. I chose this sampler, 1, because of the stitches, 2, because I just adore it, 3, because I knew that a lot of the ladies that were attending were also quilters, and these little figures are wearing patchwork dresses, and 4, because the colours were perfect for October. They're such autumnal colours. So let's go back to this project. Teachers in Victorian times taught on a demonstration frame at the front of the classroom. So because Maud was teaching us, I filmed videos on each of the stitches that were shown on the big screen so people could see them in the classroom, and then they have a special link that takes them to those videos so they can watch them at their leisure at home indefinitely. So we broke up the stitches into various categories and they were played over the course of the day. What were the stitches we had? Oh gosh, there was a lot of them. There was hemming, sewing, stitching, running stitch, setting in gathers, running stitch for tacks, herringbone, various different versions of the buttonhole stitch, whip stitch, various versions of feather stitch, and feather stitch with what they called knotting, we would call French knots. We had chain stitch, four-sided stitch, and we had true marking stitch, which is reversible cross stitch. Maud finished her sampler with a ribbon binding, but I thought everybody wants to learn how to hem stitch. So we had an in-depth tutorial on hem stitching the edge of the sampler, and everybody ended up with a finished, well, not everybody ended up finished, but there were many finishes of this little sampler. And I also put in a little bonus for the practical workshop of some weaving patterns, and the intention with these was to create your own needlework specimen book, as Maud did. So everybody received this specimen book. They received a sepia gel pen so that the colour of the writing inside matched the sort of period feel. They received a charm which will act as a bookmark inside, or they could put that on a project bag or something like that. And this book is extremely high quality. We're very grateful to the company that produced these for us. These ring binders actually had to come from Europe. We wanted antique bronze, and because of the size of them, they weren't available in this country. The purpose of this very large ring binder is that as you fill this book up with your needlework specimens, it's going to get thicker and thicker. So everybody could personalise their book with their name, as Maud had done. And these pages are very, very sturdy, and it's sort of like an antique field paper. And you have a blank page for fixing all your specimens, and then you have 9 pages to write descriptions. Maud sewed hers to the pages, but we provided little riveted caps so that you can just fix it quite neatly. These are so handy. I personally prefer these to brads, because with brads you've always got those 2 spikes. These are a very neat way of attaching something. So we're hoping that over the years that each attendee will fill this book. As they do a new stitch, they can just pop that sample into the book and build up a record. I finished the book with one of my favourite verses. So that's a really nice sort of keepsake, and this was a one-off for this event. Let me just pop that away safely, and then we'll go to the next thing. Everybody had, just a moment, let me just keep this safe. Everybody had a booklet that gave the workshop practical project. And this was the book. So it was Maud Newman, 1893, Haberdasher School, London, taken from her needlework book. So we spoke about Maud, and then here are 4 examples of almost identical samplers. And these little samplers for their specimen books, they were being taught to standard. So it didn't matter whether you were on the south coast or up in the north or over in the west of England. little girls all around the country were being taught the same project. It was a standardised exercise, and these were examples from all sorts of areas of the UK. Then we had some little tidbits of information, and I don't know if anybody yet has taken the time to read the quotes all throughout the book. These were all taken from the training manuals for teachers, and it really makes you think when you read them. This is a pattern for a sampler, and this is an actual pattern from the Victorian period. So there was another chart in there if people wanted to stitch this second one. Then we had the little project itself, and this project, you'll notice all these coloured lines, and that was for people to learn how to fold the edges of the project and hem stitch it. Then we had a little mock-up of the project showing these lines, and there was also a loose piece of paper of this, and this paper was printed on a paper that it felt like the weight of linen, so you had to cut this out, and then you had to follow the different lines for part of the folding process. And if you went wrong, so your mitered corners didn't meet perfectly, you could look along the marked lines to see where you had folded it incorrectly. Doing folded hemmed edges and mitered corners, it's all about the correct folding. If you fold correctly, those mitered corners go together beautifully, and it's much better to understand that on paper than practice for the first time on your linen, because as you're folding it and you're trying to stitch it and readjust those mitered corners, your linen will fray like mad. You practice on paper. That's how the Victorian girls learned how to do it. They practiced on paper. They also had the pattern for the little darning panels, and then there was lots more trivia of things taken from the Victorian period. So I hope that people take the time to read these little extracts from the Victorian teaching manuals, because they do make you smile. Thank God that we live when we do. Kathleen of Cross Stitch Antiques gave a wonderful presentation on specimen books of British and Irish national model schools, and everybody went home with this book that contained the lecture and the images. That's always great because you can't absorb everything in one go, but you can look at this many times over the years. It can go on your research shelf for samplers. And that was very generous of Kathleen. She also gave everybody in the room this beautiful chart from the National Female Model School in Kildare, Ireland. That was very generous of Kathleen. I was on and off all throughout the day Saturday, either with a presentation or stitching tutorials. In the afternoon, Sissy of Gentle Pursuit gave a very interesting talk on Scottish samplers, and Sissy has this adorable presenting style, and I think that everybody really enjoyed her talk. I'm just trying to think what came next. In the evening, we had a after dinner speaker who was the Queen's photographer on Britannia, and he showed us photographs of the royals' everyday life on Britannia. He regaled us with stories, and then I didn't know that he was going to do this because on Britannia all the crew provided the entertainment for the Queen, and if you had any sort of entertaining skill, whether it was reciting a poem, telling a joke, doing a magic trick, singing, acting, you got dragged into this entertainment. And Tom plays the mandolin, and he had played the mandolin many times for the Queen. So all of a sudden he whipped out this mandolin and sang a song with which I think the Americans in particular really loved. And when he got to the chorus, he played but didn't sing, and everybody else sang. It was spontaneous and it was quite nice. After that, we had show and tell, and what we had done was we had rigged up a camera linked to the big screen. So everybody put their show and tell out on a big table, and then Christy brought each individual piece over to a different table where it was viewed via a camera, so the image appeared on the big screen. And Ray Niles, Red Barn Sampler, who's a wonderful show and tell host, was going around the room with the microphone so the persons whose piece it was could talk about it on the microphone and everybody could see it up on the big screen. And those items stayed out then until the end of the workshop on the Sunday, so people could actually go to the table and look at them in more detail afterwards. That worked very, very well. Sunday, what did we have on Sunday? When people walked into the room, they found they had a wallet and a little bag. Inside the wallet, there was a little laminated mat to work on to protect the table from glue. And we had a project that was designed by Emma Parrish, who is the most amazing paper engineer, designer and junk journal innovator. If you're not familiar with Emma, please go to her Etsy store and her YouTube channel. She has the most amazing paper projects. So Emma supplied us with the paper project, and why we wanted to do a paper project was the Victorians spent a lot of time crafting all sorts of things with paper, and it just slotted in so nicely with the theme of the Victorian period. So we wanted people to go home with a finished project, but if they had to cut all of this out, they would not have had time to do it. So Sue and I cut out everybody's projects for them. We creased them, we inked them. It took us so long. I actually cut out 800 of these buttons, stuck them together, so that came down to 400 buttons, and everybody needed 2 buttons for their projects. I never want to see another hole punch. Well, not until the next time. The project came with a comprehensive instruction sheet, but Emma had recorded a video especially for the attendees, which talked them through every element of making this project. We also put in an additional set of the papers so that people could also make another set at home completely from scratch, cut everything out themselves, so they could walk away with a finished project from the event and still have a second one. And I'm going to show you, we just put all of this away. I am going to show you what that project was. It was a needle book folio. So people received in this little bag a glue tape, a sticky tape dispenser, a glue stick, like in this country we call it Pritt stick, and they received another vintage spool with this beautiful silk ribbon, which funnily enough came from America. It's funny to think we ordered it from America, it came over here, and so many Americans are taking it back home now. So the little folio is fastened by this ribbon, and when you open it up, you've got some little pockets, top and bottom. Then it opens up and opens up again, and all this inferior was with it. I finished mine with some of the little silk ribbon. There was loads of silk ribbon left on each of the spools, but you can fill this with needle packets, all sorts of things. And then there's there's a pocket here, a pocket there, a pocket there. And then you open this up and you have another pocket here and another pocket there. It's terribly sweet, and I think that people really enjoyed having a break from stitching and doing something that they could easily finish. One lady actually finished it in conjunction with Emma's video, which was 18 minutes for the classroom. There is a 45-minute video for people to watch at home, which shows it, all the cutting out and a little bit more in depth. But lots of people finished that over the course of the weekend. So that was great fun. Jane Greenoff spoke on Sunday morning. I gave some presentations Sunday morning. And then in the afternoon, the wonderful Ray Niles spoke about basically the home is where the heart is, and we looked at samplers that had houses on, and that was a very, very interesting talk. Again, it just went in a flash because everybody was so engaged by Ray. Then we had our gift exchange. Oh my God, there were some absolutely fabulous gifts given. Throughout the weekend, we had the draws for the door prizes. There was some very beautiful door prizes. There was a quilt that Kathy Markham had made and donated. We had a Millennium frame and the Necessaire stand. That was a fabulous gift, door prize. We had Kahana scissors, we had Kahana sets, we had, oh gosh, all sorts of things. A beautiful Cézanne embroidered case. Fox and Rabbit was so generous. They donated 6 full yards of linen, and Swan Bay Fabrics donated 2 boxes. I'm not sure if it's 12 or 13 fat quarters were in each box, and the colours went across their range. That was so generous. There were lots of other prizes as well. I just can't think of them all, but we randomly drew them throughout the weekend. Sarah Comer made a stunning quilt that was a charity raffle, and the charity raffle was for a rescue organisation for primarily boxer dogs, but they do rescue other dogs, and this is a charity that for, I don't know, last 10 years I've regularly donated to. Hugo and Bertie Boo often send money to this charity, and we haven't got the final figure because our accountant is working on the event figures now, but we know we've raised somewhere between £1,560 and £1,575 for that charity, and every penny of that is going to the rescue. And it's a completely it's a association that has voluntary workers, so every penny goes directly to those dogs. Now, we had guaranteed to the charity that we would make up the fund to £1,000. So they had it was earmarked for some dogs, but because we raised far in excess of that, they were actually able to rescue more dogs, and I think it's 12 dogs that will benefit, and they shared photographs of each of those dogs, which has been posted in the event Facebook group. So it's really nice that people can actually see where their money is going to. So huge thank you to Sarah Comer for donating that quilt. A huge thank you to Kathy Markham for donating the quilt for the door prizes, to Fox and Rabbit, to Swan Bay Linen, to Tabby Cat Linen, who donated a prize, to Jane Greenoff, who donated a prize, and I've forgotten somebody. I can't think who, but anyway, I'm sorry. The event was, there was so much buzz in it. I wish I could bottle it and open that bottle and absorb it all in from time to time and just share it with you. If you want to experience what I think was a really good event, we are holding it again in 2027. It's going to be in the October again. We're just waiting for final dates from the hotel. It's either going to be the same weekend in October 2027 or the weekend before. What I will do for the general public is post save a date, and I will let you know when registration will open for on general release. There we go. I will do that so everybody has advance warning. Last time it sold out. Oh, I don't know. I can't remember because it was 2 years ago in about 20 minutes. Oh, I tell you what I have forgotten. Ray Niles, bless her. She gave everybody a chart of these samplers, and everybody received a 25-metre spool of painter's thread over-dyed Soie 103, and the colours were random. You didn't know what colour you were receiving in your bag, so that was a really lovely, generous gift from Ray Niles. Okay, right, I'm sure I've gone on far too long. I don't like really long videos. Anyway, I hope that you will be at 2027, and I hope that when I post the reel of the official photographs which capture everything, that you will enjoy watching that. I hope that next weekend that we will be having a silk extravaganza. If it's not next weekend, it'll be the weekend after, and I hope very soon to have 2 new releases to share with you that the attendees at Swindon got early access to. Okay. Stay well, stay safe. Bye, Zee.